Hello there, friends. This is Cassandra Joan Butler coming to you from somewhere in the cosmos and sharing some astrological secrets about love and romance. You know, I often like to say that all of us can get along with anyone because all of us are made of the same stardust. The same 12 qualities of the zodiac are inherent in each and every one of us. But of course, astrology is a little bit more complex than just saying my sun sign gets along with your sun sign, although that may help. In interpersonal relationships, we want to make sure that the archetypes that represent love and romance or Venus and Mars that represents sex and energy are congruent, or at least they get along by geometry or aspects within our mutual charts with our significant others. So astrology is a fantastic tool to help us understand the interdynamics between people, you know, not just within romantic relationships, but between our people that we love within our family or our colleagues. Oh my goodness, astrology really helps us create a sense of empathy because we know when someone just rubs us the wrong way, it might be one part of their psychological, spiritual makeup that we don't always appreciate. So right now, I just want to go through a little introduction, as it were, of love and in the world of astrology, love, sex, and relationships, and just give you a little bit more idea of, first of all, the complexity, and also the hope that we can get along with anybody on some level. So the astrology of love, here we go. I want to start with the premise is that simply it's elemental. We've got the 12 signs of the zodiac, and we can interpret them through the four major elements, the four original Greek elements: air, fire, earth, and water. And if we understand the makings of the elements, then we can have a better understanding of how we get along with each other. So let's start with fire. Fire signs, of course, are Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. They have something in common. They are the visionaries of the zodiac. They get excited, just like the element of fire. They burn bright. There are subtle differences, of course, between these three signs. Aries is like, oh, I don't know, a big bonfire. It's so excitable. It's like the original fire of the universe. Aries is active, energetic, a little impulsive, you know, it's me first energy. Leo energy is a little bit more contained, and I like to think in terms of, I don't know, a birthday candle on a cake, right? So the Leo fire is a little bit more celebratory, and it's about the celebration of the individuality of the heart, that heart to heart. The heart is kind of a fire element, of course, within our bodies. We know that even through traditional Chinese medicine. Well, in any case, Leo is the leadership. Leo aligns with the sun. Everyone is their own king or queen of their life, right? That's the Leo part of your chart. Playful and creative and charismatic. Sagittarius is the fire sign that's adventuresome and funny and independent. Think of a fiery arrow going up into space and landing wherever it will. That's a Sagittarius type of fire. It's not as contained as the Leo, but it's a heck of a lot of fun, and it's always going towards tomorrow. So think of this, friends. You've got all of your planets, including your asteroids and other parts of your chart that can be in air, fire, earth, or water. And the premise is that if you have some fire combination in your own chart, you will align with other people's fire in their chart, and you'll respect each other. And that can create a dynamic of mutually beneficial visions. Like, honey, let's sit down and visualize where we're going to be in 5 years, what type of home we want, or my dear, let's plan that next great trip. And so there's this mutual support of each other's vision and charismatic goals. So that's our fire energy. Earth, our next elemental sign. Again, the planets can be in any one of these 4 elemental signs, but Earth is known for its stability, its security, its ability to deal with tangible things like the earth itself, gardening, or objects of art, jewelry, and art objects, and money. Taurus especially upholds these values because Taurus is the sign that's also ruled by Venus, which represents our values. So Taurus, stable, solid, sensual, those are some of the qualities of the Taurus within your chart. Virgo, on the other hand, is, if say Taurus is fertile earth, like the earth that we have when we're planting our gardens in the spring. Virgo is like very specific type of earth, like sand, right? Little particles, because Virgo can be a little nitpicky. Virgo represents that part within us, which can be very dedicated, dutiful, perfectionistic, and yes, a little critical, because Virgo wants to get it right. They dot their I's and cross their T's with precision. They're the perfectionists. The earth element reflected by Virgo, again, would be a sandy beach. Capricorn is an element of the earth, might be the mountains and the rocks, solid, secure, responsible, respectful, reliable. If you've got a lot of planets in Capricorn, forget about needing to be liked. My goodness, you want to be respected. So you want to see where your planets fall, if at all, in these earth signs. Air signs, Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius, have this in common. If you and your partner have combinations of the air signs, you love to talk and you love to socialize. Gemini especially, it's the curious, charming, talkative energy. It's like the little butterfly that flits from group to group and is very clever. You know, the Gemini part of your nature knows a lot, can speak quickly and convincingly. Salespeople, for example, would have strong Gemini in their makeup. Libra also likes to talk, but the Libra energy is more of the negotiator, putting her or himself into the other person's point of view, and are the master negotiators. They're often very graceful. Sometimes they're accused of being a little bit too nice, too accommodating. Might be a disadvantage of being strongly Libra. Aquarius is an air sign, is more fixed in their ideas. You know, there's nothing and no one like an Aquarius when it comes to making their mind up. They're extraordinarily friendly and outgoing, but they can be very stubborn, every bit as stubborn as a Taurus the bull, because they, like Taurus, are fixed energies. Remember, I'm not just talking about the sun sign, your moon, your Venus, your Mars. Any one of your planets or asteroids can be in any of these elements. Again, we want to find a mutuality in relationship. Water signs. Oh, water is the great dissolver of the universe. Without water, there is no life. So water is this amazing quality, has this amazing quality of being diffusing barriers and boundaries. Someone with a lot of water are often considered to be rather psychic and intuitive because they're picking up right there in their solar plexus other people's feelings and emotions. They can be very protective of those feelings and emotions, a little defensive at the same time. Now, the Cancer as a water element is kind, nurturing, and sensitive, like the mother energy. You know, you've got a lot of Cancer in your chart. You're the type of person that's always remembering birthdays, and not just birthdays, but making sure your friends, family, and loved ones have great meals that go along with the celebration. Scorpio energy is, again, fixed water, think ice. So Scorpio can be very magnetic. They can attract, but they can also contract, and they can keep their privacy and their secrets to themselves. They needed some fire to burn out that icy interior sometimes, because again, Scorpio is deep, sexy, intense, and secretive. Pisces is a water sign, is caring, psychic, emotional. They can be a little bit too accommodating as well. Pisces just go with the flow, and sometimes they can sacrifice their own needs in order to accommodate their partners or just people in general. They can be a little bit too sacrificial. They've got to put their, breathing mask on first to protect themselves from being taken advantage of. So those are the elements. Our planets can be in any one of these signs or elements. So we have all of the energies somewhere in our makeup. So please just let go of that idea that if your sun sign is in a certain element, you have to be with another person of that same sun sign. It's a lot more complex than that. For example, in the old astrology books, they'd say, oh, if you're a water sign, you have to be with another water sign. The Pisces have to connect with the Scorpios and the Cancers, and that's it. It isn't necessarily the case at all. If you want to live with someone and have a romantic relationship, you've got to check out where your moon signs are. You have to look at the element and the location and the aspects made to the moon sign. The moon represents our unconscious and how we be fed in this world, how we want to receive. And sometimes we're actually ruled by our moon, right? So the moon wants to be fulfilled by others in relationship and also just in the general world. Seventh house placement is also very important. And in the chart, we have the 12 houses. The house of me, myself, and I is the first house. The opposite house is the seventh, which is sometimes considered to be the shadow side of our chart. So sometimes we attract people who are opposite to us in order to balance ourselves. So seventh house is very important to look at. And of course, the relationship planets. Again, we're talking about romantic relationships of Mars and Venus. Remember this book from many, many moons ago? Men are from Mars, women are from Venus. I think what Dr. Gray was speaking of actually was a little astrology. Why? Well, his mom had a bookstore, a New Age bookstore, and she was an astrologer. Yes, Dr. Gray's mom was an astrologer. So perhaps he was influenced by his mom, who said, yeah, honey, yeah, men have Venus in them and women have Mars within them. Every person, independent of how they are in their sexual arena, have a yin, which is an accommodating or nurturing side, and a yang side. A Mars, which is aggressive, assertive, and a yielding side, a yin side. So you have to say this, that men have a Venus, women have a Mars, and let's talk a little bit more about these two relationship planets. Venus within your chart is what you love. And it's interesting, I've seen this with over, hundreds, literally hundreds of thousands of charts I've done in my lifetime. People like to be liked by the things they like about themselves. So think about that for a minute. What right now is the quality you possess, which you are most proud of? It might be the way you cook, or the way you clean, or the way you do a PhD thesis, or the way you snowboard. Whatever you find as your most beloved quality about yourself probably reflects your own personal Venus. And it's probably what you want your partner to like most about yourself. In other words, we like to be admired and loved and liked by those that we are attracted to, who sees, who beholds the parts of ourselves that we are most in love with ourselves, right? So anyway, look to your Venus to see how you want to be loved, what you love and what you love about yourself. Your style, your taste. Are you a social person? Your attitudes towards finance. Your abilities to be artistic or musical. What gives you pleasure? And your sensuality. What you do to make you feel good. All right, so that's a little different than sexuality, because that's the realm of Mars. Mars is the actual sexual, quote unquote, act, because Mars represents energy, stamina, vigorousness, and the sense to get up and go. How you attain your desires is what Mars likes to do. So within yourself, within the archetypal self, we have, you could say, using Carl Jung's typologies, right? The woman has the animus, her inner version of the male, which would be the Mars, and of course, the male would have the anima, the inner version of his perfect woman. So Mars is action, will force, and the way I go about this world getting what I want. When you have congruent Mars and Venuses within a personal, sexual, romantic relationship, bingo, you have chemistry. So blending Mars and Venus gives us chemistry. Question, are they in the same element, air, fire, earth, or water? Is his Mars in the same element as your Mars? Well, that would imply sexual chemistry, but you love the same things. You look to the Venus. Are they in the same element? Or they could be in supportive elements. Those would imply a sextile using astrology. Now, a sextile is a 60-degree angle between the two planets. Fire and air have a sextile between them. Water and earth have a sextile between them. Sextiles would be a flowing aspect with a little bit of work, a little bit of consciousness attached to it. Tense aspects include the squares between these two planets. I'm going to back up for a minute. What I'm talking right now is in the astrological lexicon, the world of aspects. Planets are on a wheel within the ecliptic, and they look like a wheel on our astrological chart, and each planet is making aspects or geometric configurations with each other. And if they flow, again, they're the same element, or if they're a little flowing with a little work, they're in a sextile arrangement. If they're intense elements, it's like a 90-degree angle, like one planet is going in this direction, the other planet is going in the other direction. That's a tense 90-degree angle between each other, or perhaps an opposing aspect. Mars will be in Venus, or Mars will be in Venus, that would be very helpful. Mars might be in Pisces and Venus would be in Virgo. That's called an opposition, 180 degrees away from each other. These can all still work. The other thing to look at in your charts are the qualities of the signs involved between Mars and Venus and the moons and the suns. In astrology, we have types of qualities, modalities, cardinal, fixed, and mutable. Cardinal energy would be the energy of taking charge and doing the leadership role within the relationship. Fixed sounds like it implies they can be extremely stubborn and unwilling to make compromise, the fixed energies. Mutable just kind of go with the flow, but sometimes they go with the flow so much they might be unreliable if you're with someone with a lot of fixed energy, for example, just for example. Sometimes I think the most problematic aspect between two people might be when their planets are inconjunct. This inconjunct aspect of 150 degrees between the two planets create a notion of differences which really aren't matching whatsoever. The planets are connecting, not at all. They're kind of going in their own agenda, in their own arena. So keep that in mind if two planets are inconjunct. So for example, if a Venus is in Pisces and the other person's Venus might be in Leo, they might laugh at totally different jokes, read totally different books, and want to go to totally different venues for entertainment. So, okay, that's doable as long as they have other things in common. They just might not entertain each other or be like-minded to do things together. All right, so I want to talk a little bit about the year of retrogrades, my friends. So in 2020, we have these two relationship planets going, so not supposedly, but from Earth's perspective, in a retrograde motion. This isn't that rare. It's rather rare, however, to have them both going retrograde in the same year, right? So keep in mind that we've got our Venus takes about 225 days to go around the sun. So she retrogrades rather unusually and rarely. Mars takes 2.5 years to go around the sun. So they happen to be retrograding in the same year, 2020. What does this mean? Between the dates that I list here, it isn't the best time to do anything radical with your relationships. Why? Because between the 13th of May and the 25th of June, when Venus retrogrades, there's beautiful Venus, we may be just rather dissatisfied about relationships, about the concept of relationships. If I were you, I would save your money for all those online dating services and don't sign up between those dates, because between the 13th and the 25th of June, we are going to be having this Venus retrograde. It's like a divine discontent. Nothing is really sticking with regards to what we want or what we think we want. And we might just be kind of nitpicky with our loved ones. Now, in the fall, 9/9 until 11/13, until November 13th, Mars is retrograde. And Mars is anger and aggression and ambition and drive. So this is one of the times of the entire year when we might be very careful not to lose our cool with others. We might really, really want to be a little bit more discerning in how we are expressing our anger or our sense of dissatisfaction. It is a time when we are actually needing to cool our heels a little bit. All right, friends, that was just a quick introduction into the astrology of love. And I want to wish you all a very beautiful, happy Valentine's Day in 2020. Many blessings.